So when SHADDAI was mentioned at the Madlanga Commission, we started realizing that although I've been looking for months into waste contracts and water contracts, there is also the same players in security contracts. Yeah. Because the person who started SHADDAI was a gentleman with the name Percy Lamola.
If you thought you've seen all the rot that is happening in the Tshwane municipality through the Madlanga Commission, wait until you've seen the evidence that was released yesterday, the audios, the WhatsApps, as well as the invoices that have shown the political influence, specifically the role of the ANC, because it's the biggest role player in this whole thing. But also, from what has been revealed, it seems like even the EFF as well as ActionSA somehow had a role to play with regards to how 3 specific tenders have been targeted, specifically waste, water tankers, as well as security tenders. They have created some sort of a mafia. Same people, same script, same companies. Everything is so similar. In this video, I wanted us to unpack what has been going on at the Madlanga Commission and the new developments regarding the Tshwane municipality.
We have made a submission to the Madlanga Commission. Our submission is around how various different players is working together in order to access contracts and how those are linked to political parties doing the bidding for these companies. Now, what is very interesting about this recording specifically is in September 2024, the Democratic Alliance and our coalition was taken out of government, of course, by ActionSA, who turned their back on the coalition. In February 2025, we were sitting in a Section 79 Oversight Committee with supply chain reports in front of us. And we saw that various companies were awarded contracts over and over again. Companies like Buzapi, who is a waste contractor, MRAMS, who is a waste and water tanker contractor, and we saw these contracts being awarded over and over to the same people. I asked very pressing questions in this committee, and suddenly the ANC and the EFF, for the first time ever, stood up and asked for a caucus meeting inside of a Section 79 committee. They asked for a caucus, they went out, they came back in, and they said, we're not discussing these reports anymore. The reports will come back to the committee at a different stage.
So we know that Rivers Peace came and told us about how tenders have been awarded in the city of Tshwane and that the proper process has not been followed, and that we've seen through the chats of Nkosi as well as GARETH MINISI and MINISI, they show some kind of like a plan that they had to ensure that certain companies are getting this tender. We've heard a lot about GUBIS 85 and the role of GUBIS 85 in terms of how it got the lion's share. But that's the thing, GARETH MINISI came with another explosive, which has made us to ask a lot of questions with regards to what is actually going on with the Tshwane municipality. It was first asked by TMPD1 about TMPD1. So TMPD1 is basically about what is going on with regards to how the tender was awarded. So this specific tender was about land invasion. So here, there were companies that were supposed to be awarded this tender. If you guys remember the list, that it was even asked if whether the CIC knows of the list and all of those situations, there was that list. And that's the thing, guys. Some of these people that have put their bids were not following the proper requirements. They were missing documents or documents were lost. And these are things that were found when this process went through property. So that list, from what we are hearing from GARETH MINISI, is that he says that that list was sent to him so that he can check compliance of these companies. Officials heavily asked regarding this because it doesn't look like that's the real fact regarding this particular tender. He says that he wanted to just play a fool towards Nkosi, and he just was playing along from the way he's named it. And even though he was asked about when you say fair to, isn't that a way of acknowledging? Because using such words seems like it's acknowledgement, but he's denied that that is the case.
Here are a list of companies. I skim read on a number of occasions. I can't sit and read documents one by one. There's thousands of documents I read on a daily basis.
This is just one text, and you have not suggested that you did not read it. So let's not complicate matters by referring to thousands of documents. This is one text,
yes,
and you have not suggested that you did not read it. So you read it.
Yes,
and
Chair.
you have said a good few times that you understood it in the manner in which you have described it.
Spot on, Chair.
So I'm just trying to understand within the way in which you saw the message, what them forward to refer to is. You say you do not know.
Chair.
Here's my difficulty. With that part of the message that you do not understand, that to me seems to cut across the idea that this was about compliance. And in any event, there's nothing in the text about compliance. This says, here's the list that's going to be given to whom forward to in order of priority. Do you want to comment?
Yes, I do, with due respect.
Yes.
And I must say, Chair, that was a very loaded statement that you gave. So I'm going to try and break it down now. And in me break it down, firstly, I must give the Commission my understanding of this message. It's a message that I received. When I receive this message, I see keywords. 7 companies I see, priority I see. But with due respect, Chair, you can't read this message on 177 in isolation of page 148, in isolation of page 150. It's a build up.
This tender, what we are seeing is that there is the BET process, which is the bid evaluation process, which starts the process of the bidding. After the people have bidded, the tender process starts from the bid evaluation committee. Then it moves to property. Property is an independent law firm that has to look if whether these people had complied. And property came with recommendations. But that's the thing, the recommendations which showed some anomalies then in some of the tenders, it became a little bit questionable because priority can make the recommendations, but those recommendations are then followed by score sheets from the bid evaluation committee, of which is not acceptable. And the BAC did not even highlight that how is it that actually we have the scoring after recommendations from property. It says that he did not investigate this whole thing, even though there was that question. He did not investigate it because he says that to him there was no prima facie evidence, even though there is prima facie evidence of the dates, and that is signaling a possibility of fraud because you can't just do something like that without having to go through the proper procedure, which is first scoring, then recommendations, not the other way around. That signals what? Fraud. But it makes sense later because we see people like Victor, who's part of the bid evaluation committee, who played a very big role in ensuring that certain things happen their way. So you get to understand why they were just doing like really shady things that show that there is some form of fraud that is involved in this whole process.
Not the same as the list on 177.
Yes, Commissioner, I see.
So if the earlier conversation, because you say this only happened once where they asked you to check for compliance, once they get to 177, it's clear that what you have is an alternative list to the mandate given to Victor. So he's saying this is the mandate given to Victor, but this is our list, which means this is the counter to the mandate given to Victor. The list on 177 can be the same as the discussion in 148 because they are completely different lists. So if on 148 you were asked to check compliance, that's not what you are being asked on 177.
Commissioner, my understanding when I read these messages, subsequent to the following discussions and the various occasions, that what was requested of me to do. And I couldn't have, I related this to the same TMPD-01. They came in succession of one another. Even if you look at 148, they first request me to check SHADDAI and then a list of 7 companies. Moving further to 177, they send me a whole different list with a caption of a mandate to Victor, but then thereafter another list as well. So from my perspective, there's a clear understanding that this is in relation to one event. Yes, there might be competing views coming from wherever, which I'm not involved in and I will not entertain and I didn't entertain.
Then now we move to the issue of the TMPD3. So the TMPD3 as well, there was supposed to be a cancellation of an award, but there was just a lot of things that did not look good in that process because there were 3 bulleted reasons, and it seems like these reasons were not the only reasons. There were other additional reasons that were not disclosed in that cancellation of award document or letter. And he says that those additional reasons were contained in the property report, and that in and of itself has made them to look like they don't even know what they're doing. Because how do you not put certain information and then other information you omit it and you say that no, it's in the report, it's not here, but this is the only reason that you have provided to say it's the true reason why you've cancelled the award.
Respond to that matter, that the probity report has already, the AC has already discussed all findings that were there. As standard, we don't regurgitate and repeat all those findings again onto this report. The BAC report is just a summary of the discussions that were raised. The attachments, which include the detailed BEC report as well as the actual probity report, are part and parcel of the entire pack. So this doesn't mean they're disregarded. So I'm explaining it in that way, that these are additional matters. It might not be clear in terms of the writing that's there, but the context and sequence of events were raising additional matters that were not raised in the probity report.
The problem is that with this whole process is that they don't stop, because they even leak certain information to Nkosi. They give Nkosi certain information that he's not supposed to have even to begin with. And then it gets worse because he says that he doesn't see anything wrong with Nkosi having these tender documents, and that there was nothing that is sensitive about the documents that Nkosi had. But the question still remain. How is it that Nkosi has this information? Why would Nkosi come and resolve things in the municipality when it has nothing to do with him? He's not a municipality member, he's not working there. Why is he too involved in this entire process, from the list to him, from him sending lists, to him assisting with invoices being paid, to him now getting sensitive or documents about the tender, even though that is not sensitive information? And he says from him, there's no steps that were taken, though they realized that there were irregularities. So meaning they strategically placed people and placed themselves in certain positions so that they can overlook such things. No matter what the property has to say, they just didn't care about everything. They just wanted to focus on what they want, which is to ensure that GARETH and SHADDAI get these particular tenders, of which you'll understand why later, as to why these two companies, why are they so interested, because you'll see an element of nepotism and family structures actually capturing the city of Tshwane.
You'll see that on the 25th of March, Sergeant Nkosi sent you that document that you describe as a draft report of the BEC on this tender.
Yes.
It was a big day, the 25th of March. Sergeant Nkosi, you and the General were going to meet together. Sergeant Nkosi sent you this document. He then later sent you the document with the mandate that Victor had from NICO, and he also sent you his list of 7 bidders in priority for the land tender, all on the same day. Do you recall that?
I can see that.
Let's get back to this document. Is there any legitimate basis on which Sergeant Nkosi should have access to this document?
This is a TMPD, no. Permission to expand?
Go ahead.
I'll be very quick. The TMPD report for 03 draft admin report, it makes reference to the closing register items. So on this, when I evaluated this document, there was nothing sensitive that had been done. But my answer is yes. There was no need for him to get this. He could have just got the closing register, which would have been published. It was there on the website. That would have been the best document to get.
Yes, but he didn't get that document. He got this document, which was a draft prepared by someone inside the BEC process.
I can't confirm that. I don't know where he got this document.
Then we have Mampane, of which he was asked about Mampane and whether he knows Mampane, of which Mampane is a right-hand man of Umswazi, from what we've heard from the testimonies that have been given so far. And he says that Mampane is the one that said that that tender should not be awarded because they wanted to continue providing services, and that should not happen. Even though this tender has been cancelled and they had to give new people the tender, Mampane had an influence somewhere, somehow. And he says he does not have any knowledge regarding the discussion between Mampane and Nkosi, because there was a discussion between Nkosi and Mampane. And then Discussions then move along to the issues of weapons, that there were weapons that were shared between these people, pictures of weapons, and he says that he's interested in shooting, and that's why this information was actually shared with him. Well, it was then asked about protection services, that has you ever received any protection services from Nkosi? And he says no, he actually asked for a driver. He didn't get these protection services. All of these elements, guys, are important because you get to see that this relationship was a nigga relationship. They just not talking about this just because they're bored or they just want to fill in. It's just a situation to get to show you how this tender process has been like, and that people are giving each other things, doing each other favors, and they're mixing pleasure and business, and they're just doing mixed masala just so that it does not look like they are actually doing business, and that's it. And that's why he was able, GARETH MINISI, to have so much confidence and have answers for everything, explanations for everything, because there were just a lot of things that were not really clear, because they were just mixing everything in one chance. And he says that he feels like Nkosi misled him and wanted the tender to be rigged.
And establish on my own that this is more than that.
But it's after that you exchange your messages about being brothers for life.
It's within the context of those discussions. These are not isolated events, Essie. They are interrelated.
Sorry, what's interrelated?
You're speaking about me huffing and puffing.
Yes.
I'm explaining to you how that came about. Firstly, I'm agreeing with you. Yes, I did huff and puff. I did create a false impression that I would check for compliance, as he would constantly request me to. However, due to the persistence, I had indicated that it was clear to me, even though he's not saying it verbatim, that I need to assist in checking for compliance. In my mind, it rang a bell that this looks like it's more than that. I took a decision in my mind that he's also misleading me in some way or not. I'm going to play the same game.
And he also spoke about how these very companies that they were speaking about that were preferred ended up getting the tender, especially Ingapeshaya and SHADDAI. Then we also find out that actually there were pictures that were sent, and he says that he did only that because he wanted MINISI was just assisting Nkosi choosing a nice car. That's why he was sent pictures of a car. But also another shady thing of which I want you to also put at the back of your mind is that a location to Joe Sibanyoni's house was sent to him. And the chats that took place was as if GARETH MINISI is interested on what the meeting is going to be about, what is going to happen in the meeting. And he says that he was not really interested, but he's never met Joe Sibanyoni, only knows Joe Sibanyoni through a video that was sent to him by Nkosi. And that was a trending video about Sibanyoni launching the foundation that he has. And I think this gets to be answered, guys, with information that is going to be revealed later on this video, which is what was exposed yesterday regarding I've made a video regarding the role of Joe Sibanyoni, but guys, it's deeper than what we think. Then it goes now to the issue of Joe Sibanyoni being number one, that Joe Sibanyoni is called number one. That is why he said JS, which is referring to that, of which Nkosi, if you remember very well, guys, he disputed that. He said JS is Shadrach Sibia, not Joe Sibanyoni. But now we are getting from GARETH MINISI conflicting versions that Joe Sibanyoni is JS. What I've seen from this testimony of GARETH MINISI when I was listening to it is that he was throwing Nkosi under the bus as much as he could. He destroyed the testimony of Nkosi. And he came across as someone who was protecting himself more than anything. He was not protecting anybody but himself.
So you now say you recall that he had a conversation about Joe Sibanyoni with you at an earlier stage. Was it one, several?
Chair, as we've seen now, there are 3 instances. We saw the TikTok video. We saw him sending me a pen that he's going there on the 29th and the 30th of April. You're now pointing me out to this additional one that takes place here. So there's 3 that I'm seeing now.
I see. Let's go a little lower down. He tells you it is Joe Sibanyoni. He says JS. And he says, we'll handle him with, I think it's will let you know is what he meant to say. Your response is, Aish, should we be worried? Why would you be worried about him going to see Joe Sibanyoni?
Again, firstly, the we is not me. And this is what I was trying to refer to the commission, that this was our way of speaking. This is another example of that we, of that ours, etc.
Then I want to now speak about the invoices. I did touch on it, the issue of invoices and the role of Nkosi. This one was very problematic for the commissioners because the commissioners were very worried as to how can you say something is convenient for you to use instead of just calling UMASHI Dlamini directly. All of you guys are working for the municipality. It doesn't make sense that you can just say, it was convenient for him. Then what? Because he's just an outsider. How can it be that me and you can work for the same company? You get someone outside who is my friend for you to communicate with me, but me and you are working for the same place, the same municipality. Instead of getting my numbers and speaking to me directly, why would you speak to me through a mutual friend? So that's what would happen here with regards to the invoices. And actually, he assisted Nkosi. But that's the thing. His assistance was very much probed. And they're saying that this is just an example to show that there's just a lot of too much power that was given to Nkosi, in as much as he was never even the employee of the city of Tshwane. And the end, GARETH has answered by saying that Nkosi misled him at some point because he was trying to influence tender and wanted him to rig the tender. So that in and of itself is just another thing to show you that he was just saving himself and just throwing everybody under the bus. There was a meeting that was supposed to be held between MINISI, Nkosi, as well as GARETH MINISI, of which this meeting was very urgent. It was very like, let's do it very quick. And the Advocate Tshwane, as well as the evidence leads, were very worried about this urgent meeting as to why was it that urgent. And it seems like it was regarding this very invoices. And it was just so alarming that they wanted this urgent meeting. Mashi did not attend the urgent meeting from what he told us on Friday. And that gets to make you question a lot of things regarding the relationship of these people and this tender process and how these invoices were rigged. And guys, you're going to find out later why they were doing that. There's just a lot of political interference, guys, in this whole situation, and political parties that have played a very big role in enabling such behaviors.
Sharing all these things with Sergeant Nkosi, he will not benefit. It is of no use to him. And I'm saying you are wrong. Because the mere fact that his brother's company is GUBIS' competitor, and you know very well that his brother's company tenders when it comes to security issues, and Sergeant Nkosi actively assists his brother in all of these matters, because that's how you get involved in assisting a PHIRI'S. So you must know that all this information is of benefit to PHIRI'S. So I don't understand when you say he will not benefit. Do you want to comment?
Yes, I do. Please, Commissioner, with your permission. Firstly, I need to focus on documents that I share, and I shared this termination letter. It's the only sensitive document which I'm of the view that it is of no value to him. Why I'm saying that the termination letter contains nothing in terms of rates, pricing, or anything that could benefit PHIRI'S. Reasons being, for this tender, which these ad hoc services are currently operating in, they're not even appointed. So even if he does know, there's no way or form that it could be allocated the work that was allocated to GUBIS. Hence, I'm saying, from what I share, there's no benefit that you would have. I did not share an invoice. I did not share a payment date. I did not share a requisition with Sergeant Nkosi.
But you allowed Captain Dlamini to share that invoice with Sergeant Nkosi, who then forwarded it to you.
I didn't allow him. He will explain why he shared it and what were the reasons behind that. I did not allow that.
But you didn't stop it when you became aware that Mr. Dlamini shared it with Nkosi, clearly with the intention that he must forward it to you, because that was the whole point of the exercise. He assists you. That's the only reason Sergeant Nkosi got involved in that dispute with GUBIS. He says so even in his evidence. It was to assist you.
And I agree to that. It was to assist me, but I did not ask him to assist me. He volunteered and out of his own took it upon himself to do that. Further to that, I couldn't stop the invoice being shared. It was already shared. There was nothing I could do from that.
So now I want to look at the Madlanga relationship. Madlanga, I did make a video about him and him using a sister to front, and also related to Joe Sibanyoni. From what we are hearing from GARETH MINISI is that he was told, it seems like he was told by Nkosi that the only gateway and that can help with regards to GUBIS was actually Gareth MINISI. Ghost is the one that is telling Mandla Mgcini regarding that, and he says that's how he knows Mandla Mgcini and didn't really go deep into that particular situation of Mandla Mgcini. Then we have Victor. Victor also played a very big role. He sits in the BEC, which is the Bid Evaluation Committee, and Victor, yeah, guys, his role is insane, but it's properly explained in the testimony of UMASHI DLAMINI'S, which we're going to get to. So Victor's role essentially was also for him to check compliance. So that's what we are hearing from Gareth MINISI. And Nico, somehow, Matibela, plays a role in influencing or communicating with Victor. But from the property assessment, they did not pick up that Victor interfered and Gosi interfered, and they then gave a mandate to Victor. So the property did not know all of that because they didn't know that there were people that were playing a very big role. There were external people that were playing a big role in this particular situation of the tender. And Victor being the chair of the BEC, I guess, they didn't disclose anything which shows some conflict of interest. So here, the commissioners were arguing a lot that actually they were supposed to show, even Gareth MINISI was supposed to show that or make it known that there is some form of conflict of interest, because it did not disclose that there was some relations that he has with these companies or has assisted them in any way of some kind. And when he was asked, he never disclosed. And he said that it was called it huffing and puffing. And he says that he was just assisting a brother. And he didn't know that these people were planning to use him to rig these particular tenders. So I don't know. This is just another example that gets to show you that Gareth MINISI was just in and about assisting Nkosi no matter what, and they did everything they could despite what even the property has said, has suggested, has recommended. They would overlook all those things. It didn't matter. Then now I wanted to look into the issues of MMC Morodi, who's from ActionSA, and the issue of service delivery. That there was a meeting, there was messages about MMC Morodi assisting, and he says that this was about service delivery and the concerns that the citizens had and ongoing processes. And he wanted a brief from both of them on what was said on how the community or a meeting went with the community. And it was still a question. Why use the mode of communication? That Nkosi is just the middleman between MINISI and Dlamini and many other TMPD officers or Tshwane municipality officers like Morodi, who played a very big role because they were conducting illegal activities. They just don't want to tell us the truth that that's what they were doing. They were rigging. Because why not have contacts of UMASHI DLAMINI, and why not disclose to property that he knows people that are owning SHADDAI as well as Ngapesheya? Because Ngapesheya is owned by the brother of Sergeant Nkosi, which is Ubheki Nkosi. And then we also have SHADDAI, which is somehow revealed later on that has some relations with the brother of UMASHI DLAMINI, which has a relationship with the nephew. Can say, yeah, which is a relationship with the nephew of UMASHI DLAMINI. So these people were literally assisting family members to get these tenders from the municipality and assist as much as they can. And some political influence somehow is there, because as I've said, that list, guys, it seems like there is EFF involved, but these members have denied that EFF is involved. Instead, UMASHI is saying it was people that were impersonating to be from the CRC, members of the EFF, who lied. But we're going to get to Mashi's testimony, guys, as the time goes by. He concluded by saying that there's nothing wrong for him that he did by not declaring or telling the property team that actually he has some relations with these people, and that there's just a lot of role from external sources and external factors that have played this, that have assisted in this particular tenders or assisted the certain companies, and also the issue of fraud, that there might be fraud involved in this particular situation. And he's never even went and complained to the right channels. Instead, every time you report to Nkosi, even when there were people that tried to say that they were from the Hawks, wanted to investigate MINISI, he, instead of going to the grievance offices of the Tshwane municipality, he went and spoke to Nkosi.
And all the communication with the investigating officers in this case, you have also shared that with Sergeant Nkosi, correct?
Correct.
And the city of Tshwane's response to the Hawks, you've also shared it with Sergeant Nkosi to review before the response is sent to the Hawks, correct?
Correct.
And that is on page 65. If you want to satisfy yourself, you can have a look at it, but it is there. And it goes to my issue which I raised with you earlier today and again yesterday. Your propensity to share with Sergeant Nkosi documents that are confidential to the city of Tshwane. What business does Sergeant Nkosi have with the Hawks investigating tender irregularities in the city of Tshwane?
Chair, first of all, this was a fake and a fraudulent letter that was sent by imposters. I'm going to put it that way. Imposters purporting to be from the DPCI. We've got a process that's validated and tested in terms of how we deal with investigations, organs of state, Chapter 9 institutions. The protocol that is followed, firstly, any communications must be addressed to the city manager. It's a standard protocol. We deal with these issues on a daily basis. We've seen a number of these communications daily. Secondly, there must be sufficient communication and reference information in the document. If you look at this document, firstly, it doesn't even have a tender number, nor does it have any official communication instruments to communicate with the purported investigation. I'll give you a sequence of events of how this emanates.
I allowed you to answer and you didn't even answer my question. But
then I want to quickly move to the testimony of PHIRI, because I think the testimony of PHIRI, it's more focused on how the instructions are made in order for certain companies to be given work. And he spoke specifically about Water and Sanitation Department, which is the one that spoke to GUBIS 8, that suggested that they want to work with GUBIS 85, who are already contracted with the municipality. And these are the people that actually are the ones that gave him the duty to go and assign GUBIS with those, give certain sites to GUBIS, because that's what they wanted. He says that this is done, and sometimes this can be done intentionally by these companies that are doing these services, because they want the tenders, they want us to provide the services. So what they would do normally, they would go conduct certain things, do illegal stuff, so that they can get this tender and actually fix whatever that is going on. So what they do now is that they get to be deployed before the actual thing gets to be done, because they go and steal certain things. So they get security guards to go and sit in these pump stations. Hence, it came from Water and Sanitation that they should go and guard, and that tender was given to GUBIS 85 to provide those ad hoc services.
Was it a verbal instruction that they deploy? When you say there was a deployment, somebody must have told them where to go and what to do.
Yes.
It was verbal.
When they talked to me, it was a WhatsApp message and then a call from Herman Sekgolela. Okay. So it shows that Mr. Herman Sekgolela had spoken to GUBIS commissioners that you will deploy at this site, yes, where there is vandalism.
Yes.
But then I remember this thing started in November. I'm not privy to what they were saying at that time. I only come in at the stage when is the 31st. In fact, when I say the 31st, is that they must start at 12 p.m. That will be the first. So I'm saying if they deploy, I must be there and see them. So it shows that they had an agreement and they went in and deployed, but in essence they realized because Director Malachi was not answering them. He started answering them at the end. Then I was supposed to be there, or my subordinates were supposed to be there, but in essence I must be there. It's a rule of delegation. I cannot delegate to another delegate. So I was not there and I said stop.
And he's also blaming Director Malachi, saying that Director Malachi also is the one that is giving instructions to allocate these sites. So he cannot be blamed alone. He was just cooperating with the instructions from Director Malachi, as well as the Water and Sanitation Department, which suggested and wanted GUBIS 85 to be the one that gets the lion's share, just like the way it has always been said. So Mostly he was questioned regarding that and the monies, because we're seeing a trail of monies that is going straight to GUBIS and the ownership of GUBIS. This person is getting loans from people. I think he says he asked Willie Misupi so that they can trace payments, because he says that Papi Bushoko is someone that he knows, and Mushapi is an owner of a company called Papado. All of this, guys, it goes back to that company, which is GUBIS.
This document, what it does, it gives a profile of Mr. Mushupia, and for the purpose of this exercise, the chair will see that right at the bottom, line number 4 from the bottom, there will be a company called Khabuchi Logistics, and that comes under the topic directorships.
You say line 4. I'm not sure I
4
get
from
that.
the bottom.
Sorry? Or from the bottom?
From the bottom, Chair.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yes. Now, that document, Chair, at least it depicts the companies that Mr. Mushupe will be a director of. And you will see that one of the companies that he holds directorship is Khabuchi Logistics.
Which appears to be the same company we saw in, was it Fire 4?
Indeed, Chair, that's the company that made the payment of 150,000 rands.
Okay.
Major, do you see that?
Yes, I see.
Yes. Now, if you go further up, Chair, it also shows you that under the employers, it shows you that Mr. Mashupia is employed by GUBIS 85 Solutions. Do you see that, Mr. Phiri?
Yes.
Yes. Now, part of the questions that was posed to you to answer to this commission was that whether you have received any incentives or benefits from GUBIS.
Yes.
And you answered to the negative.
Yes.
Is that still your answer?
Yes.
We then now move to Khabuchi Logistics, which has received payments from GUBIS 85, Kelvin Mahlangu, which are the very people that went and paid Phiri. And he says that he's Khabuchi is a long friend of Phiri, and then he's received payments from him before, but he doesn't know if this person is receiving payments from GUBIS 85. And then now when you look at the monies, he was asked if whether he received payments from GUBIS, and he says no, he didn't receive payments from GUBIS. But that's the thing, guys, there's just a lot of payments, loans, bonds, high amounts of monies, millions, 150,000 rands to buy vehicles. All these amounts of monies, they go back to him and GUBIS. Even though it's not directly, but it's some money from GUBIS, it went through someone who knows him, then it goes to him. But he's denied that and said that he has no relationship with GUBIS whatsoever. He only has relationships with people who happen to have a relationship with GUBIS.
If you look at the evidence that I attached and adduced as Annexure A4+5, on my statement, it will clearly indicate that on the 7th, I received the 876,000 from Monday Social. On the 7th again, I received 6,400 from Monday Social. And the person who's doing this is the chairman of the Social, is Keriot Lulama Mweli. And I'm saying Lulama Mweli is the one who goes to the bank, and the bank refuses to pay us directly from the bank. Lulama Mweli has nothing to do with City of Tshwane. He works somewhere in Watlu at BP, but he's chairing these books. And then he pays me this money. It's the money that I have invested from January to December through my own ways of finding ways of making money. I'm a side hustler.
Mr. Phiri, we're going to make, and I'm inviting you for your comment, submissions that what you call your business relationships, or at least the exchange of funds
Yes.
between you and people who are linked to the city of Tshwane, or the companies that are linked to city of Tshwane as service providers.
Yes.
That interaction on itself is inappropriate.
Yes.
Do you care to comment on that?
Let me take my breath so that I give you a correct answer. I'm an employee of Tshwane, but overall, I'm a member of the public. And I'm not saying being a member of the public, when people come to me and say, commissioners, I need such amount of money. Some will come to me, they will know that if you ask me, I need a 4x4 buggy, and I have 200,000. I'll just tell you straight, give it to me. What mileage are you looking at? And then I know who to call.
In my own mind, I've been thinking what we are to make of payments the other way, as it were, because ordinarily one expects the service providers as a gratification to pay an employee of the organ of state concerned, not something the other way around. So what true need, and I've been wondering in my head as to what could possibly be happening here if it is not what Major PHIRI is saying, and I don't have an answer to that question. So you would first have to tell us, and indeed Major PHIRI as well, what you consider to be the true nature of these transactions.
Therefore, in conclusion of the testimony of Major LEBOHANG PHIRI, it looks like from the way he's questioned, these amounts of monies that are in his bank account can only be explained by saying that he was receiving bribes from GUBIS 85, because he's the one that has been allocating the sites to GUBIS. So in a way of thanking him and appreciating him, they had to give him these high amounts of monies, the ones that he calls loans. So because we've seen what is happening so far, these people don't want these monies to connect directly to them. So many people are used so that it's not like GUBIS directly. Because remember, this person allocates these tenders. So allocating, I give you money for allocating me more sites, of which this is also going to be proven with the recording, with the evidence that is going to be given later on regarding how a particular political party was giving a tender to someone because that person gave them certain funds. So that is how I think was supposed to be, was a message that they were trying to show us as the viewers with the testimony of PHIRI. So now with GARETH MINISI, his role mostly was also to help the two brothers, Mashi Dlamini as well as Fani Kosi. Kosi helps Pegi Kosi, and Mashi Dlamini helps the nephew, which is Kabu. So those are the people, that's what the CFO was supposed to do, because he sits in the final stages of this tender, a very important stage. So him sitting there, obviously he has some influence somewhere, somehow. That's the influence that they're trying to show through his testimony, that this man used his power sitting in the adjudicating committee to ensure that these people get the tender no matter what, overlooking what the property has said, and even sometimes to a certain degree interfering with other tenders like GUBIS so that they can advance the interests of the two tenders, which is INVOICES and SHADDAI. Then I wanted us to move to UMASHI Dlamini. UMASHI Dlamini, it does not look good because he says that yes, his family is from a taxi business, they know Mswazi, the brothers, they know Mswazi, and he spoke about Willie and Peter, and that they had a relationship with Mswazi somewhere, somehow. Both of them are no more. But we're finding out, though, that there is Ukamu Mahlangu, who is also saved as Kamu Dlamini, who's the son to Peter. And this person is said to be the director of SHADDAI. And SHADDAI got the tender of TMPD1, the land invasion tender. And he says that it is part of the list of the people that were sent to them, and that list is said to be from CIC, but they found out that Muzi and Sipo are the ones who came with that list, that they saying that it is from the CIC. And they saying that it is not yet confirmed what is going on. I guess, we'll see as the time goes by, because this list, guys, and the how it's connected to the EFF is too much. And I don't think Charles Carlton is willing to let go. He's still gonna probe regarding that. He says he knows Mampane, he knows Joseph Ferrari, and these people, they have some relations with his family because they have taxi businesses. And then he says that Peter never introduced him to Kamu and does not really know that Kamu is the child of Peter. And I think that is because he's trying to cut himself away from the allegations that people are actually awarding tenders to family members, because he was looking out for his brother while he was looking out for his brother's child, which was Ukam.
Did you know that Kamokhelo Hlatswayo is the only director of a company called SHADDAI?
I don't know.
You don't know? When you say you don't know that Kamokhelo Hlatswayo is the son of your late brother Peter, are you denying that he is the son of your late brother Peter, or are you saying you just don't know?
I don't know. He has never introduced me to him.
Your late brother never introduced you?
Yes.
And now, during his testimony, we are also finding out even more information about him, corroborating the story of GARETH MINISI, saying that this was about compliance. They just sent the list because they wanted to check compliance regarding these 7 companies. And the issue of the legal the issue of the misrepresentation of Muzi and Sipo, who wanted their way, who wanted to just use certain names so that they can get the people that they wanted to get these particular tenders. And he said that the list was from the CFO, and said that he's working with Malema, but they were lying. That's what was said from what he testified at the Madlanga Commission. And then we're comparing the list, but that's the thing. The question was, they speak about comparing the list of the CFO and from the one that was given by the CIC. It doesn't look like the list is from GARETH MINISI. It looks like it was a comparison situation. But according to UMASHI Dlamini, that is not true. That is not the case.
These people wanted you to help them or assist them with the tender.
Yes, Commissioner.
Right? You say that. So that's why they gave you this list. They want to get a certain advantage through your assistance to do with the tender. So when you send this same list to the CFO, even on your version, even if one accepted your version, that you didn't know that he has a list you were not conveying that he has a list from the CIC. On your version, you sent this list to what end? You know the purpose of the list. It's to get assistance and advantage in the tender process. When you send it to the CFO, it's for what purpose? It cannot be you want to verify that they are members of the ANC, of the EFF. It's irrelevant. This is a tender process. It's a tender process of the city, has nothing or should have nothing to do with whether people are ANC or not. It shouldn't matter. In fact, you should, if you were acting properly, you would have kicked them out of your office, right? And said, I want nothing to do with this. You don't do that. You forward it to the CFO.
So the biggest role here of Dlamini is for him to now involve Uniko. Nico is a man that it seems like they go to check compliance, assist bidders and all of that. So now we see that actually Nico assisted certain companies in Ngapesheya with regards to their tender. And now we are seeing a new person coming in, chipping in this particular situation, which is Victor. So here, from the evidence that has been given, is that compliance should have been checked with people from the Tshwane municipality. Where is Nico involved? Because Nico is not employed by the Tshwane municipality. Then, and why would Nico speak about preferred bidders to Dlamini and check with Nico? Because according to him, the compliant bidders are the bidders that were given to them by Nico. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I was so confused as to, so Nico, because he's the one that assists with compliance, hence he's so involved in this whole situation. But here we get to hear the issue of political interference in these tenders, that there's a lot of political interference, and he even spoke about high contestation and how tenders are awarded from the EFF and ActionSA. Hence he understood that's how he understood that issue of the CIC and Malema, because of the existence of political interference in this process.
So who apparently had the meeting with ActionSA and EFF?
I'm not sure who had the meeting.
But who did Sergeant Nkosi tell you?
I just asked him where does the message emanate from and what is it in conjunction with.
And he told you that it came from the CFO, and he mentioned the deputy mayor?
Yes.
But did he say, who had the meeting with the EFF and ActionSA?
He never explained that to me.
But the purpose of your call was to get clarity. What's this message about? Surely you'd have asked them who's meeting with ActionSA and EFF.
He called me. He just said he wanted to show me that things are happening.
And did he explain that the things that were happening around TMPD 1?
That's exactly what he said.
And so somebody was meeting with ActionSA and EFF, he was telling you, and that somebody had been told to submit 5 bidders and thought that was an insult.
Yes, that's what the message indicates.
And what was your response?
I just said it means then there's high contestation.
Sorry?
I said it seems there's high contestation.
High conversation?
High contestation, perhaps in the political sphere or something.
Have you encountered, political sphere interference in tenders before in your time at Tshwane?
I haven't. I took a decision long ago not to engage with politicians for personal reasons.
So Victor, as I've said, is the chair of the BEC, and Victor must prepare these 7 companies. And I don't know where Nico got, he said he doesn't know where Nico got this list from, but I assume that Nico got it from Gosi and then sent it to Victor, who then had to assist with this bid process. Either Nico got from Gosi or Nico got from Dlamini. We have to check the chats of Nico as to who gave him this mandate, because it looks like Nico gave Victor a mandate that he should carry. And that mandate in and of itself is one of the things that ensured that these 2 companies who are part of the preferred list get these particular tenders. This misconduct was not reported. Dlamini knew of this mandate, but he never reported it as some form of misconduct. Even though he says he was not involved in giving Victor a mandate, it was just a thing of Nico. But still, he was supposed to have reported if it was an unlawful thing. But he never did that. He denies interfering with the processes, and also he denies that he's assisted a lot in the Mpumalanga processes, because he's also assisted and interfered with the Mpumalanga process, tender process that involved these particular individuals.
You receive information that someone has taken a bribe to rig a tender. Is that your responsibility to action as head of internal affairs?
if that's reported, SC.
If that's recorded.
If that's reported, that's got a complainant in that regard.
I wanted to deal with the last three things. And number one is the issue of the procurement. And that these people have played a role, have interfered with the procurement processes. Even though, according to General Mashidlamini, he's heavily denied that actually they have played a role and interfered with the procurement processes, because it is him, it is GARETH, it is Nkosi, it is Nico, it is Victor. They've all interfered with this procurement process. But according to him, he says they've not interfered, even though there was a list, there was a mandate to Victor, and there were suitable bidders. All of that, it is interference. But according to him, he was stubbornly stuck into the idea that they didn't interfere with anything. Also, when it comes to the issue of them actually requesting for further documents even after the bid has been closed, because since these people clearly, INVOICES did not comply, they could have disqualified them because they didn't comply. But what they did is that even after the bid has been closed, they decided to ask for further documents to INVOICES so that they can comply. And that in and of itself gets to show you the interference, how they interfered in all spheres when it came to this particular tender. It discriminated on the people that probably might have met the requirements, all the requirements from the beginning of it. But because they wanted their people, their preferred bidders, they had to ensure that these people actually comply so that they can get the tenders, even if other things they had to be done afterwards. I wanted to point out to the last thing that I think is very important, and that is the issue of their language, the use of their language. For example, forward to we, us, our. They use that type of language. And from GARETH and MINISI, we've seen that thing that says that that's how we talk. Even though when you read the text, there's no way, guys, that you can use such a language where you're saying us, ours, is our thing, and then you're saying it's not, you're not involved. It's a singular thing. It's a thing that is just a matter of language. That's how we talk. No, they were talking like that because they are very much involved in that very process, or they were involved in that very process. We, ours, it signifies team. It signifies a sense of I'm with you, we are in this together. So now when are you going to say this is just the way we're talking, I'm not involved? It doesn't make sense. And I think that's one of the things that made them to be caught with regards to TMPD1 and TMPD3. So now I wanted us to quickly talk about the revelations that got out yesterday. The testimony of Dlamini is still going to continue tomorrow, and I'm so interested because I think a lot is still going to be uncovered and probed. Then yesterday, explosives were dropped at ENCA, and this is the form. I'll just put a snippet of the audio that was leaked regarding political interference of a DOP, a party that is part of the people that are governing the city of Tshwane, and what the strategy is. Most cases using MEC positions to siphon money and take money from the municipality. This is what he said.
MMC positions. Those positions are assisting their party. Various different, political parties. They are all assisted by that position of the MMC. Even myself as the chairperson of the portfolio, they assist me. Now I was given a project, I gave it to that businessman who gave us money on the time of registration with IEC. He gave us more than 300,000. So I fought until they give him a tender. Now they are waiting for appointment letter from the city manager. And then as next week, he will start working. And then that particular person, they told him, even when they give him that tender, they told him, Chief, we are giving you this tender because of the chairperson of TOP.
As if that was enough, the former financial MMC of Tshwane, which is Jackie, came also with receipts, guys. She came and told us about the water, waste and security mafia tender system and how the same companies, same political parties have been awarded these particular tenders.
So it became very clear to me in that specific meeting that there is interference by political heads in the awarding of tenders, in the way contracts are awarded, and then also a couple of months later where we had a report serving in front of us where you had creditors with the city that had a debit balance, which means they were paid for invoices that were never processed. And those also link back to some political heads. Yeah,
I just wanted to go through the annexures as well, because we did our homework. We have to make sure the viewer understands. Let's look at the first annexure that we created for the viewer as well, just to take, it's going to make this conversation quite easier so the viewer understands what Jackie's talking about. This, of course, is a WhatsApp message you received from a member of the ANC, right? Just take us through this. We will keep skipping to other annexures here.
In order for us to get to the WhatsApp conversations, we need to understand what happened in July 2024.
I think I did tell you guys about Eugene and how Eugene also has been placed at the center of the water tankers and how he's received the tenders for the water tankers. Mind you, these people are going to appear at the Madlanga Commission because they've already made their submissions and Madlanga has responded and they might be testifying soon with regards to this. Then she came with more WhatsApp chats and also documents that are proving that there is an official of the ANC, which is George Matsila. And George is the one that actually interfered in a certain tender. So there was a tender, a water tanker, and they wanted to cancel that tender and award a tender with regards to waste in the municipality. And he says that with the specifications that were in the tender, they were too high. So George is the one that said, no, these specifications are too high because the previous suppliers have to be ruled out. So what they have to do now is to ensure that they turn back the requirements or they're going to end up being removed from office. Mind you, in the first recording, we heard how these people are awarding tenders to people that have helped them. For example, the DOP awarded a tender to someone who's some sort of like a funder who gave them 300,000. Then they gave that person the tender. She also said that NC has benefited from water tankers and waste tankers a lot.
In July 2024, a water tanker tender was cancelled in the city of Tshwane and a waste contract tender was awarded with specific specifications, which ruled out quite a number of previous suppliers in the city. Now, at the time, I received a personal phone call from George Machila, which is messages that you're seeing on the screen, and I'll get to those now. I received a personal phone call from George Machila, who said that we should turn back the requirements of the tender or they will remove us out of office. I was still MMC of finance.
And this is the conversation, right?
Yeah, that's part of, well, that's a 2023 conversation. This then started making it clear to me that the ANC was benefiting from waste and water tanker tenders, because why would they threaten to take us out of office, specifically referring to the return of contracts. I then went back onto conversations that I had with George Machila, who's the ANC Secretary General in the Greater Tshwane region. I went back to conversations that I had with him. And the DA and the city had financial difficulties and couldn't pay all of the service providers. So as MMC of Finance, and even prior to being MMC of Finance, when I was the chairperson of the coalition, I was often approached by people to say, this invoice is outstanding by 150 days. Can you help to have it paid?
Here, like say Ruacon is
just like here, where it's speaking about Ruacon. And approached by these people, asked them for invoices to be paid. And the same George Machila did. But when I went back onto the conversations, it became clear that he often said, we need this in order to pay salaries. And that then dropped the penny to say that either Machila himself or the ANC as an organization was benefiting.
Just to come in there, sorry, before you lose your train of thought.
This is where I'm coming.
This
I'm
graphic,
coming to
what is
exactly this graphic.
So, yeah.
So there was many of these invoices that Machila asked for us to pay that we did not pay because they did not have purchase orders. And just after we were removed out of office, this started happening, where the list that you're seeing in front of you is companies that were paid more than invoices that they had submitted.
Right. So I want us to come here, Jackie. This document here now.
Yes.
Yeah. So what El Shaddai, this company has been mentioned in the Madlanga Commission. What was going on here?
So when El Shaddai was mentioned at the Madlanga Commission, we started realizing that although I've been looking for months into waste contracts and water contracts, there is also the same players in security contracts.
Yeah.
Because the person who started El Shaddai was a gentleman with the name Percy Lamola. And Percy Lamola started various other companies who also benefit from waste and water tankers in the city. However, El Shaddai is a security contract, which they are now trying to access, also with the same registration address as many water and waste contractors, 148 Visvanger Street in Hakdoringboom.
That's an important address.
That's an important address, yes. However, the second person that started El Shaddai was a gentleman with the name M.M. Masilela. And M.M. Masilela is a business partner to none other than Eugene Modise, the Deputy Executive Mayor in the city of Tshwane. M.M. Masilela, who is not only then a business partner to Eugene Modise, but also, as what you can see on the screen here, he is a business partner to somebody with the surname Sibanyoni, as well as Thomas Rantebe Modise, who is by all accounts Eugene Modise, the Deputy Executive Mayor and MMC of Finance's brother, as well as, if he is not the brother, at the very least owns property with Nelly Modise, who is Eugene Modise's deceased mother. And this then shows how there is so many links between water contracts, waste contracts, and now security contracts. And with this address of 148 Visvanger, the family name of Lamola, and then in some way a link to Sibanyoni, who we of course know is as Joe Sibanyoni.
Yeah, I know that.
She then went further to speak about companies that have submitted their invoices and that these invoices were more than what they submitted the invoices, and the payments were actually more than what was contained in the invoices. And the company that stood at the forefront of that was El Shaddai.
You may have more documents that we can go through, because this is incredibly important. I mean, it's a lot to go through. I go through this and I look at all of this and I immediately think about the everyday South African resident of Tshwane who's watching this conversation and says, well, how does this impact on my service delivery? You speak wastewater, and I immediately think of, what does this say to and about the people of, say, a community like Hammanskraal, Jackie?
So in the first year after the Democratic Alliance was removed out of office, waste or the payment of invoices for water tankers increased to 777 million rand. Now, it is important to see that into context. Very many of those invoices were what you were seeing just on the screen, were people and companies who did not have purchase orders and was paid after the fact. And those were invoices that when we were in office, said, no, we're not going to pay it. As soon as the ANC came into office, they went to go and dust that off somewhere. They found it in a drawer somewhere, dusted off, submitted it, and had those invoices paid. So yes, instead of fixing water to communities like Hammanskraal, that project has completely halted. And if you now go to Hammanskraal, they're completely back onto water tankers. And that is the reality that we see on the ground for people. Also, funds that were supposed to go for service delivery that has gone into paying of service providers for security contracts. Because in the first adjustments budget that the ANC had, they increased two line items, water tankers and security companies, by hundreds of millions of rands.
So El Shaddai did not only get a tender in security, also got a tender in water tankers as well as waste. So this is some sort of like a mafia. And guess who are at the forefront of these particular tenders? It was Percy Lamola, of which I don't know if it's related to Ronald Lamola, of which I think that should be heavily probed. And this person owns other various companies. And then it was the MMC, it was the Masilela, who's the business partner of Eugene Modise. We spoke about Eugene Modise, who's the deputy executive mayor of the city of Tshwane. Then we have Joe Sibanyoni, who plays a role also, has some relations there with the SHADDAI as well as Modise. Modise, we're not sure if he's related to Eugene Modise, but there is some relation somewhere, somehow. So this is evidence of some family business that is being ran by these people. Obviously, this has happened under the DA watch because this person that is exposing this information is a DA member. And they asked her as to why she hasn't reported this before the Madlanga Commission. And she says she has reported it written to the city manager, public protector, as well as the speaker of parliament to investigate. But there is no action to this day. Hence, they even approached the Madlanga Commission.
All right, so maybe just last one before we go into another theme as well. Jackie, some would argue that this happened under the DA's administration from 2016 until you were ousted from office as well. The question would then be, what were you doing at the time to look into some of these issues? Did you go to the public protector? What more did you do beyond just it being an internal party investigation? What did you do to take it to other Chapter 9 institutions to ensure that there is accountability? Because one would say in the absence of the Madlanga Commission, all of this wouldn't have been unearthed.
So I wrote to the city manager very many years ago, the first time, on many of these allegations, specifically on Eugene Modise's interest in security companies. We have written to the city manager. We've asked for an internal investigation to happen in the city, which happened, which came out that ANC politicians is benefiting, and that is not being dealt with in council. The mayor, who can act on her MMC of finance, has not acted on her. Yeah. We went to the public protector for the investigation of water tanker invoices, as well as for investigation into security tankers. We've written to the speaker to ask for everything that we have submitted to the Madlanga Commission to be investigated, and none of that has gotten to the point where there's acting on these individuals. And that's why we also then went to say, now that we can see that security companies is also part of the waste and the water tanker mafia, it is now the time for us to make use of the Madlanga Commission to get to the bottom of exactly what it is that is happening.
Responded.
And they have responded that they have received the submission, yes.
So this gets to show you how deep the rot is. The role of political parties like the EFF, as I've played the audio to you guys, the issue of political interference, specifically ActionSA, ANC, and the EFF in these particular tender cases. I don't know what the political party EFF is going to say. I don't know if these allegations are true. These are just allegations that are made by this lady and the people that have appeared before the Madlanga Commission regarding what is happening in the city of Tshwane. At the end of the day, we are just the people that are here to report on these particular matters. No one is saying anyone is guilty, but we are just presenting the evidence of what has been spoken about in these commissions, that they're implicating political parties, and they're saying they're playing a very big role in the interference of these tender processes. I don't know what you guys think about this particular episode and the things that have been revealed at the Madlanga Commission, the testimony of GARETH, MINISI, the testimony of PHIRI'S, as well as UMASHI, which is still going to continue, and the explosives that have been dropped by this former MMC of Finance, who is a DA member, who has just exposed and collapsed the whole thing that is going on. Same companies, guys, are siphoning money from the city of Tshwane, from the municipality, and literally it's deeper than what we are only getting from the Madlanga Commission. And with what is being revealed now and the testimony that she's going to give at the Madlanga Commission, we're going to get even more information, and more people are still going to be exposed. I don't know what you guys think about what is going on. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. I'll see you guys on my next upload. Bye.